Good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you be watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins. It's kind of late here, but I felt like making a video. I felt like getting this story out. A hard landing in China could wipe out 550,000 Australian jobs and cost the economy $140 billion. So it's gonna have to be, realistically, it's gonna have to be the whole Donald Trump tweet. It's gonna have to be Australians are gonna have to start making things at home. Australians look for other suppliers and or other arrangements for your business, and start buying local type of thing. I know it's because wages haven't changed much in the last 40-50 years. I get it. I know paying local people to make basic necessities that we need in our bathroom, whether we needed, air freshener for the car. It's tough. It's tough to fill. It's a tough pill to swallow, is what I want to say. But right now, Australia is going to go through a really, really turbulent time. I made a video not too long ago, maybe 6-7 months ago, that if Australia went to 0%, this is just my opinion. If Australia went to 0% rates, they couldn't get out. And then I did a little bit of math, kind of went back and forth with it. And they have to go to negative 9% interest rates. I know this sounds ludicrous, but take a step back and hear me out. If you take what the total debt service ratio per capita is, and per family household, if you could get rates down to negative 9%, it will fit kind of comfortably with what Australians are indebted to right now, right? So it's something that we've been discussing here on the channel for the longest time. And now a lot of it started with I believe in my heart of hearts, because I talk a lot of real estate, right? And I believe in my heart of hearts it has a lot to do with people paying 7-8 times the value of something, overly inflated asset bubbles. And that's what happens when you lower rates. That's what happens when you open your borders to rich investors to basically buy out your country and basically see the disappearance of the middle class. You see, in California with their homeless situation, guys, California has 107,000 people in the state of California that are homeless. 107,000. 44,000 are in LA County. Now, those are homeless people, but 90%, excuse me, 90% of those people were middle class and trickled down to working poor, paycheck to paycheck, hit a few hard times. Because I've been following this homeless situation down in California really closely, and I was astonished to see that like 1 out of 6 people that were homeless had a college degree, right? And you kind of have to believe it, because that's the whole American thing. You've got to get a degree or you're a nobody. You need college. If you don't go to college, you'll never be the man. You know what I'm saying, right? So, and then I found out that 1 out of 3 people, 1 out of 5 people, worked part-time, and 1 out of 3 were volunteering and working for temp agencies, but they're still homeless. They don't have an address. So a lot of people saying, "Oh, vagrants, homeless people, yeah, they got hit, hard times." There's something a lot bigger going on, and it's the disappearing middle class. The ones that could run to the hills, the ones that left expensive California because of all the foreign investing and all the laundered money and all the crap that was, and all the bureaucracy with the red tape and liberal California. A lot of people moved east. A lot of people moved to Texas. A lot of people moved to South Carolina, Nevada. A lot of people moved to Arizona. And the ones that couldn't, a lot of them hit hard times and ended up on the streets. And we are seeing a growth in the homeless situation in Sydney. I remember they set up a tent city in like outside of a parking lot or in the parking lot of one of the major malls there in Sydney. This was about 8 months ago. I covered that article. So political unrest and the escalating. So political unrest leads, in my opinion, to civil unrest. U.S. trade war are increasing the risk of a hard landing in China that could cost the Australian economy $140 billion and wipe out 550,000 jobs, right? That's a warning from the PwC chief economist Jeremy Thorpe, who says Australia needs to urgently shore up free trade deals to reduce its dependence on our largest trading partner. Same thing what Trump said. Find alternatives. Let's work maybe closer. Like Australia might work a little bit closer with Brazil. Maybe work a little bit closer with Germany. Maybe they may even work closer with Moldova. Anything. You know what I'm saying? Which it currently so China's dependence trading partner, which is currently accounts for nearly 1/3 of exports. While there is no exact definition, hard landing scenarios generally assume a fall in China's GDP growth of between 3 and 5 percentage points from its current annual growth of 6%. In 2017, Deloitte modeled a hard landing where China's growth fell from 6.5% to below 3%. The cost of Australians' national income was 7%, 140 billion, and 550,000 job losses, Mr. Thorpe said in a policy brief for the China Matters Forum. That would push up unemployment in Australia from 5.2 to 9.3%. Levels not seen since the last time the country experienced a recession in 3 decades. So that was back in the 80s, if I remember correctly. 3 decades ago. More beginning hard landing scenarios have also been floated by the Asia Development Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the Reserve Bank of Australia. According to Mr. Thorpe, the cause of the hard landing could come from a range of internal and external sources, including a further escalation of the U.S.-China trade war and the U.S. recession that is now seen as a real possibility. So now, let's get realistic here, people. How long is China going to steal, copyrights and intellectual properties? How many decades more do they, how much more wealth and knowledge are they going to continue stealing without basically paying their way? I pay my way. The taxman gets paid. My suppliers get paid. My electricity bill gets paid. My car insurance gets paid. So why doesn't China want to pay their way? We all pay our way, right? And Trump makes up some extremely valid points when he discusses this. This is crucially important. The economic dynamics of this sounds more fiction than reality. It's almost something you'd pull out of a novel, but it's happening. International and external risks are already aligning. With the trade war slowing, PRC, economic growth, and putting pressure on smaller PRC banks, loan portfolios. Boshak Bank was the first PRC bank. I think there's something Bank of China or something, or bank to fail in 20 years, and 2 others also required government help. So you remember the 3 banks that were bailed, two were bailed out and the other one fell or something. Well, it's happening, guys. This is happening. This is the real deal. We are in an economic war. Not too many shots being fired yet. But like Gerald Celente always says, trade wars end up becoming hot wars. Like Nirvana says, load up on guns, bring your friends, it's good, or it's fun to lose. Well, in the short term, a drop in China's growth would hurt Australia's exports and trigger a fall of the Australian dollar, which in turn will be good news for sectors that rely on overseas buyers like education and tourism. Federal and state governments would lose revenue, mainly through mining-related tax revenues. But then a lot of these mines and private land and sovereign land was sold out to China anyway. So, I mean, states and territories are expected to rake in $14.8 billion in mining royalties this year, while mining companies will pay around $31.1 billion in company tax to the federal government. And remember, a lot of these mining companies are private sectors, but which ones do the Australian proper still own today, right? Because we have here in Canada, we have a little bit of a problem, right? You want to see this, guys? Our problem is this in Canada. No Canadian hires for 4 years at Chinese-owned BC mine. So British Columbia, Canada, they bought up one of our biggest mines, 1,000 kilometers north of Vancouver, and they don't want to hire Canadians to work for them. And when they posted advertising for this mine, they made it mandatory that the person speaks Mandarin. So, I mean, what is really happening, right? So he goes on to say here, reduced demand for natural resources in the PCR would cascade into lower commodity prices more generally, and so undermine projections of the Commonwealth heading back into budget surplus, projected to be $7.1 billion in 2019 and 2020. Any significant fall in commodity prices off the back of PRC's accelerated slowdown would likely result in mine closures or mothballings, with consequent job losses in pockets of regional Australia and lower royalties. In the medium term, PwC expects the negative impacts of China hard landing to be cushioned by falling Australian dollar, which will increase the competitiveness of Australian exports and domestic firms competing with international rivals. For example, as long as the PRC government does not seek to rein in its students studying abroad, we may see Australia attracting new cohort of price-sensitive PRC students shifting from higher-cost markets coming to Australia as the cost of education falls, Mr. Thorpe said. People's Republic of China, PRC, by the way. There is also a possibility that the Chinese government will respond with other massive round of stimulus as a wake of global financial crisis. So there was 2 banks that got aid, and I think one fell in China. They all got quantitative, they got bailed out. So what they're looking at is for the bigger banks to start buying out the smaller banks in the forgot the name of the province in China. I forgot the name of the province. If I remember it, I'll bring it up. Boosting its construction sector and flowing through the demand for Australian coal and iron ore. Coal for sure. Iron, I don't see it being too much of a demand for China right now. I see metals going down, like not gold and silver. I mean, I see iron ore and tungsten and all those steels going down a lot. Coal stabilizing, and I see gold and silver skyrocketing. Mr. Thrope said Australian government should preemptively continue prosecuting broad free trade agreements to enhance flexibility for exports in the event of a PRC, People's Republic of China, hard landing, including regional comprehensive economic partnership and the Australia-European Union FTA. So there's something that Australia, like, I mean, Australia is open to the world. I think Australia should start, there's a lot of things Australia should start doing, right? They should start follow the way, first they should follow the way of New Zealand and start banning the sell-off of their land. Stop banning the sellout of their country, their sovereignty. Australia right now can't manage their own sovereign debt, okay? They're going to have to go into negative rates territory. Rates need to go to negative territory. The reason why is because they're already rumored of destroying cash. They want to get rid of cash. They want this cashless society. So now the problem with going cashless society is that the criminals that they're trying to stop with the whole money laundering and the black market, in quotations, if you're listening to this and not watching it, sarcastically, the common person, the common man or woman or mankind, or we lose a lot more for what little the black market makes or what little the black market gets away with. The common man loses a lot more once they remove cash. Once they start putting these policies into place, they're irreversible, my friends. It's like trying to relight a candle that you blew out a candle. It's out. It's like asking it to come back on. Come on, come back on, come back on. Once that candle's blown out, once policies are put in place, they become irreversible. Once that cash goes away and they go cashless, then the only way Australia could fix their problems is by going into negative interest rates. And who's going to pay for it? The people that didn't get involved or mixed up in this whole housing overprice of housing, people that didn't get into this credit card fiasco debt, people that were smart about their savings, people that actually read and understood the financial destruction that the country's headed towards, people that prepared. They're the ones that are going to be the target of this. They're the ones that are going to pay for this. And that's the sad part of the reality. In the event of a hard landing, Australia should be prepared to sacrifice projections of the budget returning to surplus given likely tax revenue shocks and the need to increase spending to stimulate the economy, he added. They can't. There's no aggregation with the low rates anymore. There's nowhere to go but negative now. And I said, I think Australia, I said this 6 months ago, in March, I said this in March 2019, Australia needs to go to negative 9%. And a lot of people that are watching this like, Mike, are you out of your mind? That's where it's got to go to for the debt levels that are in Australia. I said the same thing about Canada. Canada will go right to zero. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Banks are going to start in Denmark. I covered this the other day. I've been covering this. Follow my channel, guys. I know I got some corny stuff on my channel and all kinds of weird stuff. I post sometimes, but you guys need to kind of get in line, in tune with what's going on here. Trends in the housing market. Can't read market talk. Housing crisis. So let's look at what's happening here. Housing in Canada, prices to spike because Hong Kong citizens basically moving out of Hong Kong and fleeing to Canada. Vancouver rental affordability nightmare, $3,100 for affordable housing per month, 2-bedroom. Food banks to help pay your mortgage. That's happening in Australia. Canadians aren't saving. Canadians are saving $60 per capita. That's what they have in savings. Canadian real estate increase explained. I explained why it's been going up. Vancouver average apartment rents $3,000. Housing industry heating up. Australian Housing Weekly Wrap-Up. I discuss a few things in that. Canadian Housing Weekly Wrap-Up. Rent evictions. Canadians struggling with rent evictions. Second mortgage borrowing out of control. Here it is. Australia on the verge of going cashless. Chinese gold buying frenzy. Chinese right now are paying 30% over spot gold. Bullion dealers are closing early, and gold and silver bullion dealers in China, in the main cities, and even in the provinces, are closing early because they're running out of stock. Right? I got this information from Shanghai Larry, and Shanghai Larry has been really reliable to me. He's been very reliable to the channel. Red meat tax. Okay, so you thought carbon tax was bad? The red meat tax is even worse. Insolvency spike in British Columbia. So I do cover quite a bit, and it's kind of important that's more than any time in our lives that we need to be within some sort of grasp of what's happening around us. It's time to kind of shred the whole Jersey Shore thing and really start looking at ways to start paying down your debt. Looking at ways of being more sensible when you spend. Looking at ways to also getting your money to work for you. Right? Getting the money you make working for you instead of you working for your money. Right? Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I want to know what you guys think. We are in a big problem here. I wonder what it's at the PCW chief economist. But yeah, banks are defaulting in China, and it's not looking good. Let's see if we go to my videos here and see. We are officially in a recession. I believe we are in one, and I think we're going to be headed into a depression real soon. Leftists demand social credit score system in the West. Not Australia, because Australia is already rolling it out in Darwin. Silver gold is the future. Australian military prepares northern defense. Why Westpac sucks. Guys, go to this video, why Westpac sucks. Why, please watch this, please, because this is so important, guys. Please. This basically gives you a good detailed. I'm putting my life on the line and risking my family by posting these things. Once you go against the banks, there's no turning back, guys. Please. Watch some of this stuff. Share some of this stuff. Look, I had a New Zealand person visiting me in Merritt. New Zealand to pay salaries in cryptocurrency. Chinese right here. Chinese bank wars. Repo skyrockets right here. As the video from 2 weeks ago. Anyways. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are feeling on the ground. Like I said, Australia is the petri dish or the guinea pig when it comes to rolling out the whole social credit score, rolling out the cashless society, censoring the internet. Right now in Australia, I think you can't even go on Zero Hedge and on, what's this one here called? BitChute. So, they're already working on it in Australia. And I think New Zealand will fall in. And I think from there we will go to Canada and the UK. I think Americans, I think there's quite a few Americans awake. And anyways, I'm talking too much. Thanks for watching, guys.